So Jesus says your example is irrelevant, because in the kingdom come, there's not going to be any marriage. And so if there's not going to be any marriage, the brothers are not going to be married to this woman. None of the brothers are going to be married to this woman. So your example is irrelevant. And then we find that Jesus is going to tell them, even Moses contradicts your belief that there is no resurrection. Continue reading here in verse 37. But even Moses, why would Jesus say even Moses? Because they thought that Moses did not teach the resurrection. So Jesus says, but even Moses showed in the burning bush passage that the dead are raised. So you believe that Moses is fully inspired? Well, the burning bush episode proves that Moses believed in the resurrection of the dead. So once again, verse 37, but even Moses showed in the burning bush passage that the dead are raised, when he called the Lord the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. For he is not the God of the dead, but of the living, for all live to him. That last part of the verse is critically important. It says, all live to him. They all live to God. Now, I want to read a statement from the Spirit of Prophecy, which is very, very interesting. Desire of Ages, page 606. Desire of Ages 606. God counts the things that are not as though they were. Did you catch that? God counts the things that are not as though they were. He sees the end from the beginning and beholds the result of his work as though it were now accomplished. The precious dead, from Adam down to the last saint who dies, will hear the voice of the Son of God and will come forth from the grave to immortal life. God will be their God, and they shall be his people. There will be a close and tender relationship between God and the risen saints. This condition, which is anticipated in his purpose, he beholds as if it were already existing. That's interesting. Once again, this condition of a tender and close relationship between God and his living saints, this condition which is anticipated in his purpose, he beholds as if it were already existing. The dead live unto him. Now let's unpack that a little bit. For us time-bound creatures, that which has been done and that which will be done are two different things. What has been done is past, and what will be done is future. However, God is not time-bound as we are. That which is potential and future for us is actual and present for God. For God, potentiality is actuality. That is to say, in the mind of God, things exist before they come into actual existence. Now, don't ask me to explain that, because God's concept of time is different than our concept of time. This is the reason why in Acts 15, verse 18, it says that things are known to God from eternity. All things are known to God from eternity. Although time is important for God, he lives, as it were, in an eternal present. That's the reason why God calls himself the I am, not the I was or the I will be. He says, I am. Let's go to the passage that Jesus quoted from the writings of Moses. Exodus 3, and we'll read verse 6, and then we'll read verses 13 and 14. Exodus 3, 6, 13, and 14. Here God is speaking from the burning bush. Moreover, he said, I am the God of your father, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. Now let's stop there just for a moment. If this was us, we would say, I was the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Let me ask you, were Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob dead at this point? Yes, they were, because Moses is long after Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And yet God says what? I am, not I was, while they were alive, I am the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. And Moses hid his face, for he was afraid to look upon God. And now we go to verse 13. Then Moses said to God, Indeed, when I come to the children of Israel and say to them, the God of your fathers has sent me to you, And they say to me, what is his name? What shall I say to them? And God said to Moses, I am who I am. And he said, thus shall you say to the children of Israel, I am has sent me to you. Notice he doesn't say I was, I will be. He says, I am has sent me to you. So even though for us and for the time of Moses, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob were dead, for God they were alive. That's why in Luke chapter 20 it says, to him all live. Not to us. To God all the dead live. Now, Ellen White wrote this significant statement that illustrates this. Manuscript Releases, volume 14, pages 22 and 23. She's going to explain what I am means. I am means an eternal presence. The past, present, and future are alike to God. What? The past, the present, and the future are alike to God. Are they alike to us? No. She continues saying, he sees the most remote events of past history and the far distant future with as clear a vision as we do those things that are transpiring daily. God lives in an eternal present. Once again, I can't explain that, but that's what the Bible teaches. That's the reason why, in the times of Moses, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob were already dead, but God says, I am the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And that's the reason why Jesus said, all live to him, after referring to Exodus chapter 3. Now you say, is this concept biblical? Well, let's go to Genesis chapter 17. Genesis chapter 17. And notice something very interesting here.